The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart, updated daily. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. The game changer is here. Card Ladder.
What is up?
What is up? Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, does this look familiar to you? Do you remember this?
Is that what we've been giving away?
Yes, actually. Well, not these exact boxes. But we have been giving away 2019-20 Prism for Card Ladder. But remember
The box we opened at my house? At my house?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking for something to prop up in the background. And I found this. And look, there was piles of cards inside of it, right? And remember, you held on to the LeBron base. I think you gave it to your son, right?
I mean, I was looking at his binder today, and there's one in there, but I've had so many of that card that I've lost track of which is which. But yeah, probably.
Look at all the stuff that was in there, dude.
Dude, it's probably worth like $1 million now.
Dude, easily after grading, there will be more easily $1,000 worth of cards.
Are you serious? How much did we pay for? Did you guys pay for that?
I think they were $50 maybe, or $35 a pop.
That's so funny.
And just this box was just sitting here in my parents' house. I just had no idea that this box was even sitting there. Just got a bunch of these random rookies, right? Cam Reddish.
I'm really like sad and annoyed that it's worth a lot, but also very happy for you.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Send me a couple bucks.
Exactly. Thibault. Look at this. A Kobe White, pink ice. Like,
are we figuring out like why retail boxes and stuff are so expensive? Is it, are retail boxes expensive because the PSA 10s of the base cards are so expensive, or are the base card PSA 10s so expensive because of the retail boxes are expensive?
Chicken or the egg, right? Chicken or the I think it's definitely the PSA 10s that are but
there's people posting like posting up at Walmart today for Chronicles, which is like not a good product. So I don't
Well, it's definitely not the top shelf product. It does have in it this year the Prism Part 2, like the Kawhi first Clippers uniform Prism card and stuff. So people are hyped up about that.
Someone asked me today if they can pull a green PMG out of a retail box, and I was like, I think that you mean, can you go to Walmart and get a green PMG? So I'm gonna just say no.
Yeah, I don't think so. But good try. So how are you enjoying your birthday, man? 32.
It's going good, man. It's pretty much a normal day, unfortunately. When you have two kids and you're locked inside for a pandemic, it's pretty much a normal day.
Yeah, I can imagine. We got a question from Say Hey Cards. He said, if I was going to get either of you a card birthday gift, what would it be? What would yours be?
Well, he knows what I'm buying right now. He knows what I want.
Yes, he does. Do you have any birthday cards that you want to share or no?
Fine. I will show and I'll show. I did get a birthday present for myself today, and I'm super excited. So I'm an Arizona guy, and it's kind of like embarrassing that I haven't collected this guy already, but I did get a big boy today.
Woo!
So this is the 2004 playoff contenders Larry Fitzgerald, and these are short printed to 50. They're not serial numbered, but they are actually like stated as being only 50 copies.
That is.
This is a big boy. This is like probably the second most popular contenders card behind the Brady. It's just so sick. And it's the most rare year by far.
It looks like it just shines in hand.
There's not really it's more just like a gold foil, and then the sticker itself is really shiny.
Ugh.
It's cool though. I like it a lot. I'm happy about it.
Very nice, dude. Congrats. Glad it came in. I know it was a USPS miracle.
Well, a miracle isn't it showed up on time.
Exactly. I see the chat is there. We go, baby. Let's just get this topic out of the way too, because the chat is already fired up about it. Lamim James writes, "What does Trey Young need to do in order to gain Josh's admiration?" Rodman PC just wants us to talk about Trey Young. Two Sports Card says Josh wants a Trey Young Prism rookie card for his birthday gift, and the Real 27 guy Adam says Josh loves Trey Young. It's true. So let's just get the Trey Young slam.
It's weird. It's weird. I haven't seen him play. Did he not even make it to the bubble? What happened? I thought they let like everyone into the bubble, like, except the really, really bad teams, I guess.
Yeah, you only had to be in the top 67% of the league, right? So
Gotcha.
I guess that's
even my Suns were making some noise in the bubble.
Dude, come on! How are the Suns gonna win out against the most? The odds of the Suns winning out were like 1 in 200, I think, and they won out, and then they still missed the playing game.
Oh yeah, sucks. I see Adam's already trolling me on LeBron when he missed the playoffs because he missed the entire season, and then Adam somehow predicted the Lakers wouldn't make the playoffs this year, and they're the number 1 seed. So I'm it's too easy tonight, guys.
They're just serving up the softballs.
Giving me the easy ones. You're so nice on my birthday.
Oh, okay. Can we talk just for a second about what you have up on your screen, especially the graph that you can see right now, because this is one of the coolest little metrics that we have. It's the daily sales in absolute dollars, just how many cards we have about 2,200 or 2,300 now on the ladder. It's just how much dollar value worth of cards sold in a given day. And that's what the ebbs and flows of the hobby marketplace look like right now.
Yeah. So you can see like this was a PWCC day, I believe. Yeah. Probably like the end of PWCC round 2, because you see those big jumps.
Yep.
And then like Sundays are usually pretty high, and then it kind of like tapers into the week going into the next Sunday. And we're going to keep seeing this kind of like overall go up because we keep adding more cards, obviously. And then we've got climbers and followers, which is always interesting to me because this one changes very fast every day. And then we got I somehow lucked into getting crazy picks out of nowhere, 90-day best investment. This one's interesting, the Ronaldo.
Yeah, that Ronaldo card is absolutely on fire.
Is this one, the pop's not too high? Okay.
No, it's not. I think that pop will be going up a bit as that
Gotcha.
absolutely takes off. But I've been told that set is extremely condition sensitive, so
Gotcha.
Could be a factor. One of the other ones that's now on our top 5 90-day investments is Damian Lillard's Prism-based PSA 10, which if you look at the other stuff that's on there, it's like really freakish price surges, like Gary Trent Jr. Somebody who just was for pennies on the dollar. Now but Lillard was already a known commodity, and he was already a guy who was putting up video game stats this year, and still his card has just done extremely well in the last 90 days.
Dude, I mean, we talked about Lillard like probably like a month and a half ago on the show, 2 months ago, about how he was just way underappreciated. He's a fantastic player. He just isn't always in the right situation to get hobby love. And man, he's right at this point, like he's so good, it doesn't even matter what happens. He's just like lighting it up.
Dude, he pulled up from the half court circle and made that, like, they asked him about the shot over the game. They're like, dude, you were getting trapped at half court and you decided to just shoot and you made it. What were you thinking? And he was like, honestly, I was just thinking I would regret it and I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't try to be a little more aggressive and not always just pass the ball. So I guess the option is pass the ball or just shoot, pull it from half court. And, of course, he made the shot. Dude, from a collector perspective, I think Dame Lillard would be one of the absolute most fun players to collect. You get to watch that guy go off night after night. A great underdog type of narrative to him. Super loyal to the Portland Trailblazers. So, he seems like a fun guy to collect to me.
Totally. Yeah, it's obviously very exciting. And as a LeBron fan, I'm nervous, to be honest. Like, This guy could beat teams by himself. He's that good. He's incredible. You don't see guys like this very often. It's just he's on another planet right now. He's just in the zone. He's so confident. I love the back and forth with the Clippers guys where he's like going at him on Twitter, being like, "Oh, you guys just had a team up," and man, he's just like so confident in himself. I love it.
And he's also so humble too, man. So like when they were closing out against the Nets. And what the hell, man? The Nets like brought basically Karis LeVert plus like a G League roster to the bubble, and then they beat the Clippers, and they almost beat the Trailblazers in a game the Blazers absolutely needed to win. So props to that Nets squad. But at the end of that game, C.J. McCollum ran 2 back-to-back ISO plays and made huge shots to win that game. And that's nothing about Lillard too, man. He's an unselfish player. It's just like, okay, hey, I'm Dame. I put up 42 and 12. But at the end of the game, if McCollum's got the right matchup or he's got the hot hand, let him do it. Let him take the shot. Like, the guy just has a lot of admirable traits about him.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, playoffs are starting here on Monday, I believe, and or the play-in games for the Blazers and Grizzlies are tomorrow night and Sunday. So we'll get an answer pretty quick about that, and then the playoff games start Monday, and we're gonna find out, like where the rubber meets the road with some of these guys and their card values and stuff, because people are gonna show up or get knocked out pretty quick.
Dude, you're right. And the NBA, I was cracking up looking at the schedule because they've only scheduled 2 play-in games, but the lower seed, which actually turned out to be the Grizzlies. If I'm reading the conference standings correctly, the lower seed has to win 2 games. The higher seed only has to win 1, and they have
1 less game played.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And they only scheduled 2 games, so like that's because it easily could go 1. Oh no, I suppose they only do need 2 games. Oh, I just called myself there. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I don't think they'll need 2. I think as long as Portland's the higher seed, I think Portland's probably – because, the Grizzlies are banged up, and they lost Jaren Jackson Jr. But you never know, man. Maybe the Grizzlies pull it out.
It's just a couple of games, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Okay, good. The chat is active tonight. All right, so I want to bring up a couple things here, big, broad topics. And the first one is the hobby's mainstream exposure, and it's kind of taken off right now. And so first of all, let's give a shout out to our guy, Adam Lefko, because during the last night of this season's TNT show featuring him and Shaq and D Wade and everybody, he had propped up on his desk for the entire night his Luka and his Dame Prism PSA 10 rookie cards, propped up on his desk the whole night. I thought that was a lot of fun to see that. I shared it to my story. Had a lot of people loving it. I just wanted to send a shout out to Adam, man. That was freaking awesome and ballsy. And I wonder what everybody on set thought about that. I was curious about that, but Sending a shout out to Adam for flexing his cards on TNT all night long. Then we got stuff like Mark Wahlberg, posting his kids getting involved in cards. DJ Ski getting involved in cards. Cool Kicks, the YouTube channel, is opening up a sports card shop called Melrose Sports Cards on Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles. And like those guys have 750,000 YouTube subscribers. They're like a reality TV show that's just waiting to happen. So I'm looking at all this stuff, just this steady faucet drip of, mainstream exposure coming in. I wonder what you think about that. What do you think about the mainstream, cards becoming more and more part of mainstream culture?
We talked about it probably like a month ago when we were showing the graph of like where we were in the mania and the hype and the rise of things, and we kind of called that we were, a little bit before the big jump for public mania, and man, like it feels like we're on the uphill of it now, just with all the people posting about it and talking about it, like you said. It's exciting, obviously. Like everyone in the hobby's kind of been talking about this for a while. The build-up's been pretty steady, and now it just sort of, the floodgates have definitely opened, and it seems like, according to that graph, we could be peaking fairly soon on some of the stuff, and then we'll probably see a little bit of a dip eventually. But right in the current moment, it's exciting, and people are enjoying it, it seems, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from here.
Definitely. That takes me back just for a second to something we were talking about a second ago, which is like, hey, when guys and teams start getting knocked out of the bubble, we had said this a few months ago, when they start getting knocked out, their interest in those cards is going to decline pretty precipitously. And we've seen that happen. We've seen that happen. We saw it's happening with Zion. It's happening with Ben Simmons. It's happening, and Ben Simmons isn't knocked out of the bubble. His team isn't, but he was unfortunately the victim of an injury. So it's happening with a couple other players right now too who can't come to mind. Like there you go. There's the Zion prison-based PSA 10. So yeah, and it's not too complicated or tricky or surprising that his teams get knocked out. That's what, look, guys. Important headline here, big newsflash headline, and all of us hobby guys know this, but maybe we all need a reminder every once in a while. Card prices can go down too.
They need to,
and they should. That's right. Well, maybe Booker needs a few days for the
because they got knocked out winning, which never happens. So people are excited about him, but yeah, it's going to come down.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate fact of this of following active players, and even inactive players have market fluctuations as well that correlates to real world stuff.
Rand's going down. Yeah, it seems like some people are still holding. There's probably a lot of new people are the ones holding these kinds of cards, and maybe they're not sure like when to sell based on performance. So we're seeing a little bit of a lag, I feel like, compared to previous years where I've expected to see some sell off a little bit sooner, because what is Ja Morant gonna like roll through the West? No,
probably not. There's a question here that said Luka. If Luka goes off with the Mavs lose, are his prices going to go down? And like,
I don't think so.
I don't know. I think like, dude, his Prism Silver is almost $8,000 right now. The PSA 10. Like, yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think it's gonna like drop like we're seeing with Zion and Ja, just because like he's sort of like established himself in these last few weeks. Is like, yeah, he's pretty much here to stay, and they're probably, like, people know they're probably gonna lose to the Clippers.
That's true.
Whereas Zion, we were kind of waiting to see what came of it when he came back into the bubble, and he looked pretty lackluster for the most part. So like people sold at that point, but like we pretty much know what we're getting with Luka. Honestly, he has a lot to gain, because if like he beats the Clippers, dude.
Yeah, if he beats the Clippers, if he beats the Clippers, that could be one of those Mahomes Super Bowl situations, honestly. I think, like, what might actually happen if they achieve something huge is that, like, you see a big sell-off.
Yeah, more the supply increases.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe. That's possible.
So that almost creates this weird situation where, like, the thing that would create the most upward pressure to keep Luka's prices high is if they actually don't win. Because if they do win, People are gonna be like, "Oh
Right.
crap, I better cash in on this hype right now."
The thing that makes card prices go up the most is not performance. It's just like expectation of performance. And,
Yeah.
once we actually get the results, you're right. Like it seems to go down more often than it goes up. Like, unless it's just like a super unexpected. I mean, if Luca like wins the championship or something this year, something ridiculous, then yeah, I mean, who knows? That honestly could like send it to the moon. We don't even know.
I don't even want to see what that would look like. If
Because the pop on this one is 2x the Mahomes, and the price is about the same.
Yep.
So I'm not sure what people are thinking.
And the Mahomes, interestingly, like leveled
Doesn't have
off
really-
at around 8,000 as well. I think they're maybe
Oh,
a few sales a little bit above 8,000, but yeah, they both.
A card was $1,500 like just recently. It was like $200 last year.
Well, it's like you said, man, like what is COVID except for just this huge incubation period of people setting expectations for what players are going to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's just crazy. People are just new and just buying cards right now. That's what I feel like for the most part. The market cap is just going up so much that prices are going up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next topic here, Matthew Berry and the hobby.
Yes.
Matthew Berry and the hobby. And look at this. Look at this. This is cool, dude. Matthew Berry actually has an insert set with Don Russ, with 2018 Don Russ. Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life. And these are pretty cool cards. And I want to we'll talk about Matthew Berry in a second. Let me just tie in a comment that a friend of the show provided. So he said, the copywriting on the back of 90s inserts, 90s he's talking about, especially Fleer, does not get enough love. Well, I don't have a Fleer 90s insert to read the back of, but I'm going to read the back of this card. Todd Gurley, Fantasy Life, Matthew Berry. Here's what the caption says. In weeks 1 through 16 of 2017, Todd Gurley was responsible for 37.8% of the Rams' yards from scrimmage. That's the highest since Jamal Charles in 2013. Over 2,000 yards and 19 touchdowns. He single-handedly won so many people their fantasy leagues that people donated a portion of their winnings to the Shriners Hospital for Children, a charity that Todd Gurley supports. Over $20,000 was donated in his name, meaning everyone won with Todd last year. So, like, these are cool cards. Shout out to, people noticing and respecting the copywriting on the back. It is tough, man. Like, when I try to put together ladder headlines every night, like it's not easy to write smooth sentences about sports information, like, and make them sound cool. So shout out to the people who do the copywriting on the back of these things, and shout out to Holy Catfish for bringing that up. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Matthew Berry.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about Matthew Berry? Like, when I told my dad, who's a fantasy guy, about, hey, Matthew Berry's kind of thinking about getting involved in sports cards, because like he went on Lefko's podcast. Lefko was talking to him about it, and then a little bit later on in the day, Matthew Berry's like, look, I talked to Gary Vee, I talked to Lefko, I'm getting into cards, guys. So like, talk a little bit about Matthew Berry, man, and what this means to cards.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume most people play fantasy football, but for those who don't, maybe basketball fans or just card guys in here, fantasy football in this country is just humongous. It's so massive. I had like a startup company that I started around fantasy football, like making apps and stuff, kind of similar to what we're doing for Card Ladder. And dude, the competition was so fierce to make apps, and we just got crushed. So with that kind of like as the foundation, Matthew Berry is basically like the face of fantasy football. Because with football you've got these super athletes and you've got these like unattainable humans, right? Like they're just basically superheroes. And then for fantasy football, it's like, well, you can connect yourself to the games and you can be the coach. And Matthew Berry kind of has that like regular man feel to him of like, yeah, man, I can control my own destiny with football by teaching you how to play fantasy football. So he's always had this like face of fantasy football thing going for him. And just because of that, I think him getting involved in sports cards could be massive, because people listen to him religiously on like who to draft and stuff. And what leagues, what players to pay attention to, sleepers, and his articles that come out with ESPN are huge. I read those every year. I get really into fantasy football. So if he starts buying cards and like, I don't see why he wouldn't. It's like the same feeling you get from fantasy football, except now you can like pick whoever you want. You don't have to be at the mercy of a draft, right? You could just like buy anyone you want and make your call on who you think is a great fantasy stud with cards. I think it's going to be huge for the industry, and I don't know. It didn't really get glossed over, but I feel like it's bigger news than some of these other things that have happened around this.
Dude, it's absolutely big news, and it points again to this thing we've been talking about for months now, which is that increasingly intelligent people are coming in to get involved in sports cards, and it's going to make the market more efficient ultimately, I think, and it's going to make it tougher and more competitive. But I wonder what type of tack Matthew Berry will take. Will he focus on prospects? Will he focus on goats? Will he focus on
Base card.
Base cards? What's he gonna do?
I just like Adam, if you're listening, please get him into cool cards. Please, I beg you. Like, don't make him buy Prism PSA 10 base. Please beg you.
Well,
if he's getting his knowledge from some of these other guys, it's just like, oh yeah, just go buy a Julio base Prism and like
yeah. We beg you, Adam. Okay. That's it on Mr. Berry. Yet another interesting public figure who's becoming interested in sports cards. I would definitely look forward to what content he might create in addition to, or maybe he'll be a private collector. Who knows?
That'd be cool. I would enjoy that more if he just sort of like says that he enjoys it and he kind of wants to keep it to himself, which a lot of people do. I think that'd be fun. Dude, I love that you posted that. Someone posted he picked Michael Vick as like the #1 overall draft pick a few years ago. It was like after he had a big season with the Eagles, and it was so controversial because no one takes quarterbacks early in fantasy, and he just like went balls to the wall and like put him on the cover of the magazine and made him #1 pick, and it was just like, oh my god! And he of course had a terrible year. So I'll always remember that.
In fantasy, there's a lot more room to be wrong than there is in sports cards right now. You'd have to like go out of your way to get to do poorly in sports cards over the last few months. Like I think that's a fair thing to say. Or you'd have to be exceptionally unlucky. Like even the Zion and the Ben Simmons stuff that's trending down right now, it is trending down for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, compared to 2 months ago, this stuff's probably still like double what it was.
Yeah, totally, man.
I see Adam and Rodman are having a discussion briefly about lower end items are having a greater rate of growth than higher end ones. And that's a question that we can empirically answer, and it's not always true. So today somebody asked me to throw a multiplier on the 2018 Prism Luka Blue PSA 9. And so I figured a decent comp card to create a multiplier for that would be the Luka Prism Silver PSA 9 from 2018. And if you look at the multipliers in the multiplier logic section of this card's profile, you'll see that as time goes on, the multiplier increases, which means that the blue, the rarer version, has been growing at a faster rate than the silver. So here, you have a card that's in definitely a higher end echelon that is growing faster than the silver PSA 9. The blue PSA 9 growing faster than the silver. So it's not always true that lower end appreciates at a faster rate, but I think it generally probably is, at least right now it is. But again, that's like an empirical question. I would like to see somebody actually say like, hey, here's like 3 instances that I'm thinking about, but as a general observation, what do you think about that lower end is appreciating faster than higher end?
I think it just feels that way right now. I can't actually say with like statistical evidence that that's correct to your point, but it just feels that way just because like we're sort of flooded with visibly the public sales of all the base cards, and all the like people pumping it and stuff right now. So I think it just kind of feels that way, and like it's more of a gut feel thing than actual reality because our predicted values are kind of proving that that's not necessarily true. And the reality is, dude, and we've been talking about this, is that with all this stuff that's been going on, you're like just not seeing rare cards sell publicly ever. And it's just because like the market is going up so much. Who would want to sell a rare card right now? Like what evidence would tell you that like if you sold right now it would be at the peak? So you're just not seeing the rare cards sell. Like that's just the way it is. And so because of that, and we're seeing the base cards sell at like a ridiculously, high multiplier relative to the rare cards, that's just how it feels.
Yeah, and so we had another good test case of that because the Kawhi Prism Silver BGS 9.5 sold for the first time in over 9 months yesterday. And we were using the Kawhi base Prism 9.5 to predict what the silver would sell for, which basically means that like the base sells frequently as a 9.5. So we have tons of sales data on that, but we didn't have a sale in over 9 months for the silver. And so we're using the base to predict the silver. So what that means is that like if the base was growing faster than the silver, then the prediction should have substantially overshot the mark. But instead, the prediction was 89% accurate. The prediction ended up being 18,000 after you took into consideration the most recent sale that also happened yesterday at the base. And then the silver sold for 16. So again, there you see a pretty comparable rate of growth over a 9-month period between a base, a more common base version, and the silver variant.
Yeah, and as more people coming in that are pouring money into base PSA 10 Prism cards, you're going to see those people get smarter and like start to move up into the higher end cards and rare stuff. So like the people in the chat who have the higher end rare stuff, like myself, I wouldn't worry about it at this point. Like we all know that supply and demand will eventually like win out. So just kind of be patient and don't like panic on that. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Sell? It's like no one's selling anyways, and there's a reason you're not going to sell. So just be patient, and I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, well said. But it is a very interesting topic. And when people are looking at, hey, is my money better put into a bunch of base cards?
Right.
They think about that.
I mean, there's just like years and years of data that points to the rarer cards mattering a lot more. And it's just in these last few months that like it's seemingly being proved wrong. But like I said, I don't see enough statistical data to say that it's proved wrong. There was a $1.8 million sale, of like, so there's plenty of data points that show that it's not necessarily just the base card doing really well. I think everything is crushing it right now. So yeah, I'm still extremely bullish on like the cards that I do have, and I'm not seeing them for sale by anyone else. So it's like
definitely okay. Got a couple of questions again this week on grading. We might have to retread a little bit of stuff that we've talked about before, but it might be worth it for listeners who weren't with us last week or 2 weeks ago. So just 2 questions. One comes from GW Cards, and he sent it as a topic, and the topic is this: PSA and BGS turnaround times. And then the Legend of MJ23 had a similar question: is it still worth buying raw and subbing with long turnaround and uncertainty? What do you think about that?
I do have really great advice on that. So listen in, folks. I'm just kidding. So I get asked this question a lot, even from like close friends, and they're sort of like, here's what I hear. I hear people say, I want to buy a bunch of raw cards today and then wait to get all of them back and then sell them and then use that money to keep going, And that's not a good strategy, because what's going to happen is it's going to take forever, and you're just going to be sitting and waiting, and you're going to be bored. And while you're waiting, you're going to just be buying graded cards, and you're going to, make some mistakes. So what I do in this situation is I sort of like pace myself on buying the raw cards, and I do it sort of weekly. I don't just like spend $10,000 buying a ton of raw, send it to PSA, wait for it to come back, and do the same cycle. I keep like a consistent train of grades going every week. And what that ends up doing is, after a couple months, when you get your first submission back, that first time you started, that's going to start your train of like getting cards in, selling some of those to pay for new raw cards. You're buying raw cards and subbing them. Then the next week you'll get more back, and you just keep this like consistency going to where you're not really focused on when cards are coming back from submission anymore. You're just always getting cards back every week. So I would think about it that way. And I know it's hard to like get started on that because you have to wait so long for that first one to come back, but it'll be worth it, because right now I'm in the middle of that where I'm getting stuff back pretty frequently, like once every other week or so, once a month. And then when it does roll in, I've got new cash to kind of keep things going, and it keeps a nice consistency.
23 over Elo says, leave it to Josh to ladder his grading.
Dude, I didn't even say the word ladder, but yeah, I like it.
The grading ladder philosophy. I mean, dude, I think that's obviously that's terrific advice, especially if you have the discipline to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be successful, you got to have some discipline and some patience, right? It's not easy. So
you really do. You really, really do. And let me just chime in on this is my favorite, like, spicy interpretation or like response to that question is like, it's actually a blessing in disguise that there is such a long turnaround time, because the longer you wait to get those cards back, generally speaking, the more valuable they are. So, and you're going to sell them right away once you get them anyway, because you want to keep that cycle moving.
Exactly. I saw someone post that like they subbed cards back when they were $40, and now they got them back and they're like 500. So PSA upcharged them.
Yeah. Now, see, that's kind of bogus, right? That's a little bit bogus.
It's so bogus, man. It's just like another way for those grading companies to make money. And can we please talk about BGS and their ridiculousness? Like,
Do it.
It's so ridiculous. Like, I really don't want to hate on the grading companies, because like they're an important cog in the system. But like, dude, BGS is like kind of an embarrassment right now. Are you kidding? They like double their prices every other week, and then they're just literally just telling people like, oh, our 5-day submission is like 2 weeks, and our 10-day submission is 10 weeks. Like, are you kidding? 10 weeks? You just charged us more money and you raised the submission time? It made your product worse and you raised the price. In what world is that a thing? Like, I feel like PSA is responding a lot better, and I've heard they're hiring. I'm getting my cards back a little bit faster from PSA. SGC's like publicly responding and like doing their best, and BGS is just like, no, let's just get worse and charge more. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it verges on self-parody when like they have these submission levels such as 2-day, and then they say the expected turnaround time is 5-day, and then they have 5-day, and the expected turnaround time is 10-day, and then they have 10-day, and the expected turnaround time is 10 weeks or whatever. And you just look at it and you're like, well, why the hell is it called 2-day then? If it's just 5 days.
Just do what PSA did and call them economy and value and slow as hell, whatever you want to call it. I don't give a crap. Just like, stop trying to lie to me and tell me it's 10-day.
Yeah, people are understandably frustrated with that. I mean, it wasn't even long ago that BGS. Do you remember the good old days when BGS turnaround times were guaranteed?
I remember, dude. I mean, I've been like going back and forth on which grading company I like more, because like PSA was just so slow, and then BGS was like pretty consistent. I had guaranteed times, and I was like, this is pretty cool. I like the 9.5 label. You know, I was getting more jersey patch auto cards. Patch auto cards. So I was like, yeah, the BGS slab is better for that. And I was like, and then it's just like, dude, what the crap? Freaking, you run a company. It's like a business where you're supposed to like help your customers. I don't know. What do I know?
I bet it's very, very confusing.
That would be like you and me raising our price to $45 and like not adding cards anymore. That's literally what it is.
Sorry guys, like we're taking away the compare cards feature, and we're upping the price by triple.
That's exactly what it is. And we're just like, we're raising the price so that you stop coming into the app. And another way we're going to get you to stop coming in is like, stop adding cards. Like, good luck, everyone.
Well, there is the state of grading right now. I definitely, like, I haven't subbed cards in a few months. I have a huge order at PSA that I can't wait to get back. Probably going to get upcharged on a bunch of stuff, since it turns out that they're upcharging basically value when it leaves the place rather than when it comes in, which is bogus. But I can't wait to get that back. Hopefully it's already been a few months here. Hopefully that doesn't take too long, but that is
PSA 7's galore.
That is the state of grading right now. All right, let's move on to the market. Frankie 3500, I think, sent in my comment of the week, and I don't want to offend anybody with this comment, because like we use nomenclature and terms and it can get jumbled, and like it's not an offensive comment, but I like this comment. It says, Frankie says, just simply, too many investors, not enough collectors. And
Yeah.
maybe people, and I just want to like put a little asterisk on that. Like if you are or consider yourself an investor, like that's okay. It depends upon like kind of like what type of investor you are, I guess. Like if you're somebody who says like I'm investing in cards because like I love them and I want to pile them up and enjoy them and stuff, like that's the type of investing that I think a lot of collectors consider themselves that they do. Or like if you flip, and you say, hey, I want to pick really good cards that I think are undervalued and like ultimately flip them and sell them, like that's pretty cool too. But if on the other hand you're the investor who just says like I'm going to try and hoard and corner a market of a bunch of base cards and choke off the supply and then leak them to auction houses and like try and build up an investment that way, I mean that's cool too. But like what Frankie said, too many investors, not enough collectors. Like what is a collector? A collector is a person who just loves cards and who wants the cards for the intrinsic value that the cards have to them and all the things that comes with cards, connecting to a community, building friendships, chasing things, accomplishing things, expressing yourself through your collection. Definitely not enough of that going on, and that has always been the foundation of this hobby, and it always will be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think about Frankie's comment?
Yeah, I understand it. I get the feeling, and I think a lot of it. There's two things to me for this reason. The two reasons that this is happening or feeling like it's happening that way is one is like most of the new content creators are talking about the investing side and the flipping and making money as part of their foundation of the channel, which is whatever. And then the second thing is that just like the new people coming in, they just have a lack of education and knowledge of what's out there. So like this is really all they know. So this is what they talk about. And they're really excited. They're new to the hobby. They're posting a lot on Instagram, so we see a ton of it. And I would just, to guys like Frankie's a great collector, really important to the hobby, guys like him. And I would say to Frankie, like, I'm going to turn it around a little bit and maybe like, try to do your part. Not just Frankie, but, just like collectors. We need to do our part in educating those folks and like helping them find the right cards for them and like getting them into the hobby. Because like, honestly, dude, I do see a lot more of the investing type stuff, but most of the guys that I talk to, they come to me for help with the advice, end up like really getting excited about new cards that they find or like cards that they're passionate about or collecting. So, Adam and I talk about this all the time. You and I talk about it, but like the long-term goal here is to get those people to stay, and the way you get them to stay is to like help them find stuff they like. I made that story this week about how the hobby needs some diversification, right? It needs people to spread out and like find their thing. So it's kind of on us as collectors to help those folks do it, maybe, and like have some positive intent towards them to not just like shun them away because they're looking to make money. And the reality is that like guys like you and me, we've got so much like equity built up in cards that like it's hard for those new guys coming in that they're struggling to like get stuff like that. They can't just go buy what we have, so they kind of have to make do with what they can get their hands on and make money that way so that they can get some money to go flip into not flip, but like get some money into the stuff they actually like. There's people in the chat that are like, I need to flip the base stuff so I can afford cool cards. So it's like, we need to have a little empathy back the other way for those folks and help them out. But yeah, I understand like the content creators pumping that stuff to make money is annoying, and we're tired of seeing the same kind of Luca stuff over and over. But hopefully it sort of like evens itself out over time. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, dude, I agree. I think that's an excellent point. I like the way you put it too. That's a great spin on it because everybody has to start somewhere, and we all started somewhere. And but I think it's smart to think about what the fundamentals are of this industry, and what it's like. So when you have a card that has 12,000 plus copies in PSA 10, and you start thinking to yourself like, what is it that's making and sustaining the value of this card? Is it the fact that there's 12,000 people out there or more who are willing to pay $2,000 for it? Or is it, people just kind of playing hot potato with the card or is it people kind of looking at other comparables and trying to, reason their way into thinking what the ceiling price on this card could be? And at that point, I just worry, man. I just worry that people are missing what it is that has made the hobby get to this point. And the thing that got it to this point was people loving the connection to sports, athletes, the connection to community, all those things that come along with participating in collecting cards. And there's the love and the passion of the cards and the experience of it all, and if like, and I do love like I love the perspective that cards are like sort of like a stock market for players. I love that. I love thinking about it that way. But it's also nuanced. It's also the fact that like within that stock market, there's the hobby itself and like the fundamentals of the hobby and what makes this market, go. And like things like going to shows and unfortunately the National was canceled, but things like going to the National, like all that stuff is super, super important to how the hobby got to where it is today. And if sports cards like become like only stock certificates for players and we miss out on all the fundamentals that got the hobby to where it is today, I start to worry about like what are we doing at that point? Are we just like should we all just put $1,000 into a pot a piece and make our picks? Like are we just like straight up gambling on players at that point instead of acquiring cards and collecting for the culture? That's kind of my concern.
Yeah. I like what David just said. It just takes time, man. It doesn't do you and me any good to just like assume those people are here just to make money. Like, what is that? That doesn't really help anything, So like my perspective is we do our best to help those people as best we can. Because I mean, dude, when you and I help someone, it usually turns into them becoming like a full-fledged member of themselves and they run off and do their own thing and they don't even need us anymore, Like it happens all the time.
It sure does. It sure does. And hey, at the end of the day, man, I see a lot of new people coming in and I meet them and like, dude, 9 times out of 10, they're terrific people.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Like, I think we have this like feeling that, a bunch of them, there's like this, made up person we have in our head of like someone that's like, wearing the side bag, Gucci bag, and like the Lamine kind of funny part of it where it's like we picture that guy just coming in and flipping, but like I don't really meet too many of them, to be honest. Like I mostly meet guys who are just trying to like figure out how this thing works, I don't know how you feel. What do you think about that?
I agree. And people come in with an open mind. And dude, it's like you sent me Cardi C's interview with Elite Code 3 the other day, and you were like, dude, this is a good interview. And I started watching, and he said something really great. He said, like, look, I'm an old school collector, and I've been collecting for decades, but I don't want to put my money into anything stupid either. I want to put my money into cards that I think are wise and that are going to appreciate in value. And like, so that's the difference is like collectibles and collecting. That doesn't mean that you shun the market aspect of things. It doesn't mean that at all. You still care about, and in my case, you still love the market and you love to look at the market and think about the market. But your understanding of the fundamentals that drive the market comes from the fact that I'm very bullish on sports cards because people love cards. They love the connection to cards. They love the community that comes with cards. They love being able to flex their cards on Instagram. They love interacting with people over cards. They love the chase. They love the competition. They love the connection to the athlete that a card provides. These are all the things that make me really bullish on sports cards and make me love sports cards going into the future. The thing that would concern me about sports cards is if the whole enterprise ultimately becomes based on let's play hot potato with cards. I don't really care about the cards. I just treat these as like flippable items.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. There's a balance. There's definitely some give and take there. Some things that make me nervous, some things that make me excited. I think it just like comes down to the community itself and how we can nurture those people and how we can grow together. It's not we do our best to keep the bad people out and bring the good people in. It's all we can do, really.
Yeah. And you know what, man? Think about a few years ago, right? Like, this might be a wild statement, but like, it's almost like the ratio of like bad actors to good actors was higher a few years ago than it is right now. Is that a fair statement?
Yep. It is. Yeah. I don't hear now. Okay, people are gonna blow me up and like, I don't hear much about trimming anymore. Like maybe that's like people are doing a better job of covering it up, but I feel like there's more people right now, there's a lot of accounts out there that are blowing people up for bad acting, and it'd be really hard to get away with stuff right now. So because of that, I just feel like, yeah, I feel like there's less trimming. You know, I haven't heard much about it in a while. Um, I think PWCC has done a fantastic job to clean it up, both like publicly and their perception of how they're cleaning it up, and I'm seeing better results personally from it. Like it just feels better. I don't know. What do you think about that? Just like less trimming, less patch swapping. Maybe it's just less people talking about it because new people don't know about it. But like, I don't know. It just seems like there's less bad shit going on.
Totally. It's I think David said it very well. The hobby is policing itself way harder now.
Yeah.
And the
There's a lot
stakes
of
are
money on the line, dude. Yeah.
exactly, dude. The stakes are higher now. So like
Yeah.
there's one nice benefit of a lot of new people and new money coming into the game is that dude, the stakes are higher, people care more, people are watching a lot more carefully. So there's a nice benefit to that. And like, here's what Adam Lefko said a couple of comments ago. He said, when the hobbyists and the flippers realize they're the same motherfuckers that love cards, but we're just introduced to this in a different style, we'll be great. It's all about respect. I think that's pretty well put.
Dude, totally. I mean, yeah, that's basically been my point is like, we're kind of talking about ourselves, you know, like all these people that we were talking about posting on Instagram with all the base cards is like a lot of us, you know, we've got base cards too. You know, we see that the money on that stuff's going up, so some of us are buying it just to make some money to get the real good stuff anyways. So like it's all of us, you know, we're all hopefully here for the right reasons, and the people that aren't, like David said, you're just gonna get the fuck out. Like if you're not doing it the right way, like get out. We're gonna find you real quick. Like it's not gonna be that hard to figure out when people are getting dude, there's like anti-scamming accounts on Instagram that's like the entire purpose of the account is to like get people out. There's like that big boy movement guy where he's just like crushing people that are scamming and like the self-policing right now is next level stuff. I wouldn't even try to pull anything right now.
No, I agree, man. And you know, kudos to the community on that. And kudos to all the people who are coming in and who are excited, who are making content, who are spreading the joy of the hobby, spreading the joy of collecting. Spreading the joy of investing in cards, spreading the joy of participating in cards. Dude, all you guys, everybody plays a role here, and everybody helps build up this hobby and makes it a little better than they left it. So we're all playing a role here. But yeah, provocative comment from Frankie. Okay. Adam Lefko wrote in, he said, real talk. This is back on the topic of the market here. Real talk, does the upcoming election make you want to move at least some cards into cash?
With the assumption that like people are going to panic at the market, I'm guessing.
Maybe.
I don't know. The hobby is like a place we go to get away from politics, you know, like for me personally, like I like the hobby because I don't have to think about elections and politics and stuff. So maybe it's just like isolated in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that like election year is always kind of tricky because, you know, markets react really rapidly to it and it could, you know, bottom out or go down. Not bottom out, but it could go down as a reaction to whoever wins or whoever loses and stuff. So yeah, I mean, maybe I just don't see enough of a correlation between like politics and sports cards to really like, dude, people watch sports and like middle finger Trump because they want to watch the sports and like they don't care what he thinks about, you know, the political side of it, you know, like that's literally happening with some of the athletes too. And if Biden wins, you know, maybe there's a little bit of a sell-off and a panic that like taxes are going to go up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that is a really, really tough game to play. It gets so many macroeconomic features involved that are just like that even like big, you know, leading economists don't have an answer to. So it, you know, they're like you said, like people might worry taxes go up, businesses suffer, trickles down, unemployment can become an issue. I see Adam followed. He said, "Yeah, market panic and unemployment, lack of more stimulus." Well, here's a different take. So we're thinking about like maybe should you sell now? And a refrain that I hear around the hobby a lot is there's nothing wrong with locking in a profit. And like, I think that's true. I locked in some profits a few months ago, and like, had I not done it, those cards would be worth even more now. But sometimes you lock in a profit and you just do it. And so there's nothing wrong with locking in a profit. But what about this? What about the fact that if that does happen and we do get that a market dip that happens and that actually does correlate to the hobby, maybe that's a buying window we've been waiting for a buying window. There hasn't been a buying window in a while. Basically, like there was a buying window in March when COVID hit, and there are some people out there who became cardboard millionaires because they bought during COVID, when COVID first hit. And so, there's people who became cardboard millionaires off of Topps Project 2020 because they got in early on that movement. Like you have the buying windows are few and far between, and maybe that's just a different way to look at it. Maybe if that does happen, we get a buying window.
Yeah, but think about it this way though. If there's a quote unquote buying window, do you know how fast that window is going to close with some of the like awesome cards that would pop up that everyone would freaking lose their mind trying to get? It's like, oh yeah, there's a buying window, so I can finally get that red PMG Michael Jordan, except like 20 dudes who don't care about, who have no effect, are not affected at all by market dip, still want that card.
Yeah, that's another one of the reasons why I love the hobby going forward as a place to put money basically, and rather have cards than money, is because the people who collect cards all feel the same way, and they're and especially stuff that's in the higher end.
I mean, dude, here's kind of a hot take. Sorry to cut you off. There's a slight hot take with like the impending political season coming up and like the election. You think that might have something to do with people putting so much dang money in the hobby? Is like this is the place people are going to put their money because they're worried about the stock market with the election? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think that's a very interesting thought. I think, generally, I think people look at cards as an alternative asset class that like is based on fundamentals that what's the deal. One of the issues with the stock market is that a lot of day trading and penny stock activities is a huge game of hot potato, and cards, ideally you can kind of avoid that because you're understanding that, hey, these are collectibles. There's intrinsic value to these. People want these items for beyond the appreciation. And like, there's not better evidence of that than the fact that even people who could sell their collection and completely change their life and retire right now if they wanted to, they still don't sell. They still don't sell the cards because they'd rather have the freaking cards.
People would rather still go to their boring day jobs than give up their cards.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. So what are we like on time? Are we gonna roll over into hour 2 here in a second?
Yep.
Okay.
Is hour 2? Should we continue with the theme of hour 2 just being like the chill time where we just like turn the cameras around and relax?
We can definitely do that. We still have some questions too, so maybe we can do a little mix and match of both.
Not that I'm like not relaxed now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, like, what do we want to? So, should we get into one more? Because there's another question here that I think is a really, really good question. Or should we save it for hour 2?
Save it. I think we got like 1 more minute.
Okay. So, like, yeah. It's like last thoughts here. Like, me personally, I'm not buying anything right now, and I haven't bought anything for a while. Well, I guess there's another question on that I kind of had an answer for. But basically, like, I'm definitely not selling out of me personally. I'm not selling out of a fear that we will see a market dip that will come in relation to a change in political power, or a change in optimism based on who assumes the presidency and who controls Congress and stuff like that. I'm not making any buying and selling decisions based on that personally, because I think fundamentals to the hobby marketplace are pretty divorced from the things that are consequences of those types of decisions.
Yeah.
That's just how I'm doing it.
Well, you're a pretty smart guy, Chris. So you know what? I listen to you.
Well, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd listen to me, but I'd take into consideration what I say. I factored into my own thought process, but
10 seconds. I will see you in a second.
The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart, updated daily. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby.